Hello friends, welcome to my channel Quiz and Storyline. Friends, I kindly request you to subscribe to my second channel, Anokai Movie Stories, where I explain this video in Urdu. Today, we are going to discuss a story that begins with a girl named Rose, who has visible bruises and scars on her face and body. It appears as though she has gone through a traumatic event and is still in shock. The story then shifts to a flashback, where we see Rose's mother, Alima, returning from work. During this time, Rose wishes her mother a happy birthday, which is the next day. Alima then asks Rose to finish packing as they are going on a trip with Alima's boyfriend the following day. Rose is reluctant to go, but, following her mother's wishes, she gets ready for the trip. After that, Rose takes the car keys from her mother and heads to her night shift job at a hotel. The next morning, Rose returns from work, and Alima, along with her belongings, heads out for the trip. Although Rose is not excited about the trip, she reluctantly agrees due to her mother's insistence. On the way, Rose asks her mother about her boyfriend. Alima mentions that she hasn't known him for long but assures Rose that he is a good person. This surprises Rose, as she finds it hard to believe her mother trusts someone she doesn't know well. Shortly after, they reach their destination, where Alima meets her boyfriend, Derek. Derek shows them on a map where they are heading, and the route passes near the Bermuda Triangle. He says they will arrive by Tuesday and have a great time. When Alima goes to unload the car, Rose steps away to smoke a cigarette under a tree and notices a man approaching her mother. Later, Rose asks her mother about the man, and Alima explains that he was just asking where they were going. This is the first time Rose meets Derek, who mentions he bought a second-hand boat for the trip named Anal Sa. The three of them then board the boat, and shortly after, they celebrate Alima's birthday, wishing her happiness. Derek gives Rose a t-shirt and a knife as gifts. When Rose asks Derek about his job, he reveals that he used to be in the police but now works as a private security consultant. Derek also teaches Rose how to tie knots and offers to help her with the boat. After the celebration, everyone goes outside, where Derek teaches Rose how to operate the boat while Alima takes pictures and videos with her phone. Suddenly, the boat collides with a cell and falls into the water. Derek throws a life jacket to Alima and sends Rose to the cabin for first aid and a blanket. When Rose enters the cabin, she is shocked to find hidden rifles and pistols but retrieves the blanket and first aid for her mother. Derek brings Alima back to the boat, and Rose gives her mother the blanket. Alima is unharmed and apologizes to her daughter, saying she dropped the phone in the water. Meanwhile, the weather worsens, and they all move to the cabin below. Alima suggests returning home since they have never traveled this far, but Derek reassures them that there's nothing to fear and the weather will clear up by the next day. The following morning, when Rose comes outside, she sees that the weather has cleared, and her mother is already sitting and drinking. Rose sits with her mother and expresses her unhappiness and desire to go home. Alma insists the place is beautiful and they should enjoy the moment. Soon after, Derek joins them, and Rose asks about the rifle. Derek explains that it is kept for safety and is also his hobby. When Rose expresses her desire to fire the rifle, Derek takes it out and teaches her how to use it. Rose fires accurately, and Derek praises her. In the next scene, Rose notices another boat a short distance away on her laptop. She tries to look through binoculars while Derek and Alma are drinking. When Rose goes outside, she finds Derek and Alma calling for her. Rose joins them but soon starts feeling dizzy and goes to her room to sleep. Later, when she wakes up, she hears some noises outside. When Rose steps outside, she sees another boat colliding with theirs. Two men from the boat approach Derek with guns drawn, demanding something in return. Derek claims he has no idea what they are talking about. Alma starts pleading for their release, but one of the men, who turns out to be the same person seen earlier talking to Alma and referred to as the captain by his companion, attacks her, injuring her. Rose is terrified by the sight. The captain then shoots at Alma and Derek. Derek is hit in the shoulder and falls into the water. The captain and his man enter the cabin, find the item they were looking for, but don't see Rose. They set the boat on fire before leaving. Rose rushes outside to find the boat ablaze and tries to extinguish the flames with a fire extinguisher, only to discover her mother's lifeless body. Devastated, she mourns deeply. The next morning, Rose is alone, unsure of what to do. The boat is badly damaged and the engine is broken. She tries to repair it with no success. She wraps her mother's body in cloth to bury her at home and weeps for her. Later, she tries to call for help but finds that everything on the boat has been destroyed. Hearing some noises, she goes outside and discovers Derek, tied up in the water but alive. She pulls him up, gives him water, and tends to his injuries. Rose then shows Derek a device and asks what it is. Derek lies, saying it is a broken pocket device, although it could send an emergency signal to satellites. He tells her to ignore it and set up a sail on the boat to move forward. Rose manages to attach the sail after several attempts. The next day, Derek asks Rose to tend to his wound. He insists that she must start the boat and then loses consciousness. Rose tries to start the engine but fails. Exhausted, she finds some photos of Derek in the cabin, showing the two men who attacked them. Realizing that Derek has been lying, she binds Derek's hands to the boat and takes his safety knife. Later, Derek disappears, and Rose searches for him. She finds him below deck and demands to know who the men were and why he lied. Derek simply says they are monsters and that knowing less is better for her. His expression shows no fear or remorse for Alma's death. Rose, with no other options, is forced to trust Derek and they work together to fix the engine, but it is beyond repair. They rely on the sea breeze and make slow progress for 2 days using the small sail. On the third morning, Rose spots an island in the distance. Derek is sleeping in a corner. Without asking Derek, Rose steers the boat towards the island but realizes that with only one sail, they cannot reach the shore. She decides to use a raft to reach the island. Derek agrees to go to the island but cannot row with only one hand. Therefore, Rose rows the raft, and they head towards the island. Suddenly, a part of the raft's rowing mechanism breaks free from Rose's hands, causing her to fall into the water. Unable to swim, she starts drowning. Derek jumps into the water and somehow manages to pull her to the shore. With her breathing stopped, Derek performs CPR to revive her. Once Rose regains consciousness, she finds Derek in a nearby cave where he has found drinking water. He offers her some to drink. The island is deserted, and Rose insists they need to find a way back. Derek agrees, but with nightfall approaching, they must stay there for the night. They manage to bring the raft to shore, and after darkness falls, Rose falls asleep in the raft while Derek lights a fire outside. Unable to sleep, Rose joins Derek by the fire. They start talking, and Rose shares that her father was a soldier who died in Iraq during his duty. Derek then reveals his own story, exposing his true self. He admits to being a once honest police officer who, after 10 years of dedicated service without any success, lost his wife who considered him a failure. He then turned to corruption and amassed wealth with bad people, including the captain. The captain was not among the men who killed Rose's mother, those were his subordinates. The captain is a dangerous and cunning man involved in smuggling beautiful girls. Derek tried to surpass him by stealing a valuable item, which is why the captain's men came that night, leading to Rose's mother's death. Derek knew Rose's mother was a good person, but he only knew her for a few months and had planned to have a good time on the trip. He then says Rose made a mistake by tying his hands. Using this excuse, he ties her hands as a lesson. Rose, still confused, spots a device in the bag and asks about it. Derek had claimed it was broken, but she finds it odd he kept it. Derek explains that the device could send an SOS signal to satellites and reveal their location, which could help them escape, but he hadn't activated it because he needed to finish his task with Rose first. Realizing this, Rose punches Derek, grabs the gun from the bag, and demands he activate the device at gunpoint. When he refuses, Rose pulls the trigger, but the gun does not fire because the magazine was with Derek. Seizing the opportunity, Derek attacks Rose, leading to a fight. Rose manages to escape and hides while Derek reloads and shoots at her, but none of the bullets hit her. She escapes to a hiding spot and frees herself from the rope. The next morning shows Derek still pursuing Rose, but she plans to escape using the raft. Rose begins to descend towards the raft, but Derek spots her and starts shooting from above. Despite the danger, Rose musters the courage to keep running. Derek then falls from above, and Rose halts to check on him. She finds that Derek is not dead but injured. As she approaches, he regains consciousness and immediately tries to attack Rose with a knife, demanding she take him to the boat because he has the device and she won't be able to activate it without him. At one point, Derek manages to injure Rose with the knife. Rose retaliates by grabbing a stone and hitting him on the head, then takes the device from his bag. However, she can't activate the device, and Derek taunts her, saying she won't be able to do it. He insists she take him to the boat first, and then he will help her. Ignoring him, Rose leaves and heads back to the raft. Once on the boat, she tends to her wounds and falls asleep. In the middle of the night, she wakes up to find the boat sinking. She quickly gathers essential items and tries to bring her mother's body onto the raft, but it slips from her hands and is lost in the water. Distraught, Rose cries because she did not want to leave her mother in the water. She then cuts the rope connecting the raft to the boat as it is about to sink. For the next 2 days, she drifts in the sea, unsure of what to do. On the 3rd day, she spots a boat and fires a flare gun, but worries that the boat might not see her due to the sunlight. That night, the same boat comes to rescue her and takes her aboard a large ship. Rose notices that everyone on the ship is armed and overhears them discussing the captain, realizing that the ship belongs to him. She remains quiet and goes along with them. She is given food, and a girl in a drugged state arrives and briefly introduces herself before being taken away by another man. Rose understands that the girl is a victim and that there might be more girls like her on the ship, as Derek had mentioned the captain's involvement in smuggling girls. Rose asks if she can bathe, and is given a room. She realizes she needs to act quickly if the captain is on the ship. After bathing, she prepares and goes to another room where she finds a man with several others. She asks him if he is the captain, and he confirms he is. Rose then approaches him and tries to seduce him. When the opportunity arises, she kills the captain by striking him on the head. She then moves to another room and finds Tabitha, seeking her help. Upon discovering the dead captain, his men become alert and start searching the ship for Rose. Rose asks Tabitha where the guns are kept, and she reveals they are in the engine room and that many girls are imprisoned, but they are all drugged and cannot help her. Rose heads to the engine room, retrieves a gun, and shoots a man who discovers her. She proceeds to eliminate the captain's men one by one as she makes her way to the girls. She encounters a girl who used to work for the captain and kills her in a fight. Then she faces one of the captain's strong men who tries to strangle her, but Rose manages to escape and shoots him. When Rose opens a door in a room, she finds very young girls imprisoned. Before she can free them, another man from the captain arrives and points a gun at her. Despite the difficult situation, Tabitha arrives and hits the man on the head, allowing Rose to shoot him with his own gun. Rose leaves the girls and goes to signal for help. As she proceeds, she encounters Derek, who surprises her. She asks, "I thought you were dead on the island." Derek replies, "I made a deal with the captain using the device and escaped the island." He then starts attacking Rose, claiming he had a plan with the captain and no one can save her now. Rose laughs and says she has already killed the captain. Upon hearing this, Derek kills her and throws her down the stairs. He retrieves his gun and returns, only to find Rose has escaped. Rose, having exhausted all her energy and defeated all the captain's men, now faces Derek. As he searches for her, following the bloodstains she left behind, Rose drops a chemical on him, causing him to collapse. She then takes out the knife Derek had given her and plunges it straight into his chest, finally finishing him off. After these events, she is fatigued but relieved that all the captain's men are dead. At this point, a girl approaches her and says, "Come with me, I have something to show you." Rose follows her and joins the other girls on the ship's deck, where they see that the ship is heading towards a port. The girls are overjoyed as they realize they will soon be able to return home. Upon reaching the port, the police take charge of the situation. We then return to the beginning of the story, where Rose is recounting everything to a police officer. The officer praises her and informs her that all the girls have been sent home, and she will be sent home as well. However, Rose is deeply saddened and says, "I don't want to go back because there is nothing left for me there." The officer leaves, telling her, "You have a future ahead of you, one you fought hard to achieve." Encouraged by his words, Rose gathers the strength to start a new chapter in her life. I kindly request that you help me reach 10,000 subscribers on my channel soon. We hope you enjoyed this video and will like it. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for your loving comments. See you in the next video.